Welcome back, everyone, to the Intel Extreme Masters live from Shenzhen, China. Already one match down on stage, one match down on off stage. New guests here on the desk. We've just got all sorts of variation and diversity going on here in China.
Yeah, of course, man. It's I'm happy to be on the desk with you again. I think the last time we were actually able to talk StarCraft in this type of environment was a long time ago, Mr. Chober. We were sitting on a couch wearing flowers and white trousers.
That's true. It was a fun time. We were much more fashionable back then, I would say.
Yeah, I think we lost a lot of our
our flair.
Our flair.
Roddy's still got it going though. It's Roddy's own style.
Roddy, like if you ever look at the commentator's average look, it's always brought higher because of what Rotterdam wears.
That's true.
It's just a given.
Yeah. We just can't.
He's gonna start again. He's gonna start all over again. It's gonna go on like this.
If I could be anybody in esports, have I told you this before?
Who would you be?
I'd be Roddy.
I can't blame you. I can't blame you. Well, we can't be Roddy right now, but Roddy's here with us. We can share a little bit of his power and his good looks, his fashion sense, right? Are you going to give us feedback today in like the post meeting after the show? Be like, so you need to make sure you're ironing your collars, Chobra.
No.
Make sure.
No, he's more likely to say, guys, stop picking on me.
No, I never. I like it when you guys pick on me because it makes the internet feel really sorry for me. They're like, oh, Roddy's such a nice guy, and they keep being mean to me.
And then he gets $5 donation on Twitch.
Exactly. Like, this is for the guys who are mean to me. It's like, thank you, brother. It really means a lot.
Yeah, we're actually keeping Rotterdam alive. That's our job whenever we cast together.
Just bring it on, man. Like, I'll take the pity donations. It's all right.
Hey, whatever floats your boat. If you can own it, you can definitely run with it. Now, on stage, though, while we're having a little bit of a good time back here, we just had a quick talk with Losira. I mean, he's coming and he's like, yeah, I felt like a sixth pool. I felt like it would work. That sounds pretty confident to me. I mean, when you're going in blind and you say, yeah, I think it's going to work, so I'm just going to run with it and take a win.
Yeah, something we haven't really discussed yet is that this is still a relatively new map pool. We've seen it now at a couple events. Homesteader Cup was the very first one. We've seen a couple of Korean qualifiers, WCS qualifiers. But still, this map pool is still A, very fresh, and B, it's very wild. Like some of these maps, you know, in the past, yeah, we had a new map pool, but just kind of look at it and you're like...
They're very similar.
Yeah, exactly. Like, they're all the same. These maps, they're not the same. There are certain builds that are considered the meta that are default losses on some of these maps. You know, think of Dash Terminal, think of Reaper Expand. You just can't do that stuff. So I really think we're going to see some crazy stuff over the next few days. Yeah. And a couple of these guys, they probably have just looked at it. It's like, new map. Gonna go CC first. I kind of feel like it, and then they're gonna play risky. We're gonna see crazy stuff. It's actually gonna be super fun.
There's definitely, in a certain way, it's like a new game or a new patch comes out, and then it's like whoever learns it the fastest is gonna have a slight edge, and that's definitely can come into play, especially with some of the players that are on the same team.
Yeah, that's part of the exciting thing. Like you said, I mean, in the past, we get new map pools, but it was like, all right, well, the same strategies always work. You just have to choose a different title of the map, basically. You just rotate the same strategy, spin the wheel, and it lands on the same one. But yeah, this time we're definitely going to see a little bit more crazy stuff, hopefully even through the finals. But already in Group A, we've got some stuff decided now. Our next match will be the winner's match. Whoever wins here, they're done for the day. I mean, they can go home, rest. They can rest until the final day on Sunday. So it is going to be between Losira and Supernova. Supernova also getting a 2-0 pretty much in the same time frame. So relatively quick matches both sides. Off stage, we will have TY and Hart fighting to see who gets to survive until the decider match of Group A.
Shawnee, does that surprise you, Supernova 2-0ing Hart? Because it kind of surprises me.
I don't know, Roddy. TvZ is a very brutal game. The thing is, I haven't seen too much of Hart as of recent. I've seen a lot more Supernova because he streams a lot and he does look quite good on his stream, but...
Why? He wears sunglasses and builds battle cruisers in Platinum League? Come on, Sean.
Yeah, that's a great... What's wrong with that?
I mean...
That's what I used to do.
Well, he made it through. So, I mean, I know you were saying ever since yesterday, you were saying, well, I think Hart, probably one of the few players now who really shows up every time he comes to a tournament to play. You can expect him to play in one of his, top forms recently, but now he's down there. We might not even see him. I mean, he might just go down 0-2.
It's going to be extremely difficult for him, man. If you lose 2-0 in a mirror matchup against Supernova, now you have to go up against TY for your tournament live. All results speak in favor of TY. Yeah, I'm very worried for our Axiom brother. He's also the only Axiom player in this tournament. Alicia was supposed to come and didn't make it out. So I'd actually be really sad to see Hart just go down like that, not having a game on the main stage. Maybe he surprises us, maybe he bounces back, but he's going to have to win 2 series in a row now. First TY, that's already going to be so difficult. And then the loser of Losira versus Supernova, it's not going to be a pushover win either.
Yeah, well, speaking of the match on hand, though, I mean, we'll just have to see. We'll just have to see if he can stand up strong enough to survive into the decider match and if we get to see him play on the main stage. But for now, Losira gets another moment in the spotlight. Just went 2-0 against TY, feeling pretty good. We talked to him, and he's like, oh, you know, I'm just going to take it as it comes. 6 pulling my way through, no worries. The Extreme Masters. And going up against Supernova. Do we know exactly what went through in the matches specifically? I mean, it was pretty quick for Supernova, so.
No idea what happened with Supernova versus Heart, but the way that it was so fast, it was just very clearly 2 aggressive builds in a row that worked, and he pulled it off.
Yeah, I mean, if you're competing with the timing that we saw with Losira versus TY, it's going to be pretty straightforward. He looks content.
Supernova's like a very technical player. Like, he doesn't play very standard. He uses a lot of his own kind of builds and strategies. So it'll be interesting to see what he does to Losira, because one thing that's quite certain with Losira, he hasn't really shown much at all. Like, that first series is just, there was nothing there.
Yeah.
Would you say he's a little bit similar to 4GG in that way, that he kind of has his own distinctive playstyle?
Yeah.
And I mean, he's on the foreign team as well. We don't really talk about this, but, you know, it's been a while that Supernova has been on the route. And I spoke with Katz in the past. I was like, are you happy with it? He's like, yeah, I'm pretty happy, you know, like he's adjusting well, speaks English, tries to be funny, tries to communicate with the team, he streams. But if you compare what Hydra has already done for Root Gaming in just a couple months, it's kind of like Supernova's time to, you know, maybe squeeze in a semi-final appearance over here.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, he's not too far from it. Now, on the other side, we just mentioned a little bit of Losira, of course, not showing too much in the first match. But I think, again, important to note is that we're talking so much about TY doing so well recently, going on a tear in Losira. I mean, probably the only biggest notable thing he had was taking down TY very recently back in Korea.
he got back into GSL, and back in Code S for the first time since like the end of 2013 was the last time he's in. It's, you know, a long time, Cobra. And he really wasn't active in 2014. I guess he got that Home Story Cup finish towards the end of 2014, but apart from that, nothing else. He played in qualifiers, he played in online tournaments, and he just didn't do anything for a very, very long time. And I think almost everybody said to themselves, well, there's Les Losira, he's gone. Like, I guess you will never see him again. But then he went to Home Story, got that top 4, and in 2015, he's actually playing very, very well. In Pro League, he's getting a lot of wins. He's back in GSL. He's playing in Star League. He's played in Kesper Cup. All these tournaments where all the best of the best play in. And he's managed to get back in there. Yeah,
that is pretty impressive. I mean, when you take some time off like that, like you said, in any esport, really, we say if we don't see someone in the Premier Leagues for a year, it's like, all right, they're eventually just going to kind of fade out. Maybe they'll switch to a different profession within the industry. You know, maybe they'll into coaching or something like that. But, hey, he's managed to come back in, and here he is, maybe looking to secure a spot in the quarterfinals.
I think he's actually favored against Supernova. I'd go as far as saying that, too.
Yeah, Losira?
Yeah,
for sure. I think he's a favorite for most people out there.
I think he's very well-rounded, too. Like, he can play, it seems like a very normal game and a very standard style, which is just the macro game. But he can do the aggressive style, which he was well known for in the previous years. The Roach bailing attacks, the 2-base bailing attacks.
Hey, I got trivia for you.
What's that?
Do you know that Supernova once made it to the finals of an Intel Extreme Masters?
Yes, I do.
Which one?
Intel Extreme Masters Sao Paulo 2012. We lost the final in the finals.
Who did he beat in the semifinals?
It's not that too much trivia. You look this up, man. Who did he beat?
No, actually, I didn't look it up. I was there. That's why I remember. But I don't actually.
Wasn't there.
Well,
I think he may have played against
cheating.
Red in the semifinals, but it could have also been Violet against Red. Anyway, big chance for Supernova. Of course, he wants to reappear in the IEM finals once more.
Yeah, would be pretty neat. In the 10th season, of course, the 10th anniversary of the Intel Extreme Masters, it is the winner's match in Group A between Supernova and Losira. And bringing the game to us will be Handsome Artosis and even more Handsome Pig.
That is a fact. Thank you so much, guys. On the desk, it looks like we are just about ready to get into this game. Pig, your prediction?
Oh, I think Losira is coming through here if he can fight the mech. I think Losira is going to do it, man. He's going to do it.
Okay, we will see our first map. Of course, Moonlight Madness down here in the bottom left. Our Terran player, MIA for a while, but he is back. It is Supernova.
Powerful Terran player from the past, hoping to make his comeback run here.
Yeah, I think he could do it, but we'll talk about that in a second. Up here in the top right, coming back this year very strongly, a Zerg from the past as well. He is Losira.
Looking very focused, going after that first place in this group. Both of these guys have had a pretty easy first games, or very decisive, I should say. Not necessarily easy, but everything seemed to go right for them so far.
You know, I'm not surprised that Supernova beat Hard, even though Roddy was surprised, because this guy is very oftentimes a mech player, isn't he, Big?
Oh, yeah. he's been doing it for a while. You know, he's been at the point when everyone in Korea was like, mech's not viable. He was there. He was doing his mech for such a long time.
Against those swarm hosts, he'd attack right through those things. This guy was like one of those 150 supply mech attackers. It was like, he was very fun to watch because very few players could actually play that style.
It was really, really interesting how he did it. Yeah, most players, they feel, you know, well, if you lose one fight, you push out too early, it's too dangerous. And he was like, you know what? You might have locusts there for a unit. Guess what? I don't care about minerals. I'm playing mech. I'm just going to use Hellbats as free units. And such a strong player, man. He just goes in there and plays it out. And this is actually a very interesting map for mech because, I mean, this is Moonlight Madness. And Madness is a pretty important part of this map because it's crazy. There's destructible rocks everywhere. And I mean, once it gets to that later 3-base or later stage, there's 2 big avenues to attack the Terran, which really is unique to this map pool.
Well, I have to ask you then, do you think that mech could be viable here for Supernova? Because to be honest, he hasn't been playing in that much. He's been doing like a lot of online cups and whatnot. He does stream. I've caught that from time to time, but that doesn't necessarily tell us how he likes to play in the most competitive matches.
You know, it doesn't. And this map, because he plays such an aggressive style of mech, often pushing so hard, maybe he can just feel like, I don't care if there's ways you can attack me. I'm going to be the one attacking you. I'm going to be the aggressor. Maybe he feels that way, but interestingly enough, looking at his opening, he's come out with this SCV scout, but notice he's taken a very late gas, and we're going to see him go for one of the greediest openings. He's going command center first, and he's going to actually be dropping a fast factory, I believe. No, he doesn't have time to squeeze a 3rd command center in there, but it is a very economic opening, and he's just going to be going from there and seeing what he can do. You know, he's scouted through Losira's base, and he feels very safe right now.
Yeah, as he should. Looks like Losira taking it a little bit slow here as well. Now, I do want to point something out, because a lot of us are like, oh, Supernova hasn't really done anything lately. Okay, yes, that's true, but let's think back to when Terran was, like, really weak. He was one of only 3 people that kept qualifying for GSL Code S every time. And if you think back to before that, I mean, he was one of the best Terrans in the world for a very long time. So I think we might be slightly underestimating this guy here.
I think he's got a good shot, and already we are seeing a fascinating opening out of him. That is his 3rd gas geyser at just 5 minutes. Now, Terran players normally take their gas very late, especially in this matchup, and I'm thinking, are we going to see like a 2-port Banshee? Are we going to see like a 3 factory build? What could he possibly be using all this gas for?
I would do anything to see 2-port Banshee, man. That is the ultimate cheesy build right there. But, you know, I think he's probably going to head towards mech. It looks here like he very well could be going for Banshees as well. But really, that's where we've seen Supernova shine in the past, because he does have such a different style of mech. You know, he's kind of like a polar opposite of someone like Gumiho, I would say, who oftentimes will play, you know, the 58-minute game.
Yeah, we won't be seeing any mass Ravens from Supernova. No. It's all right, guys. The schedule won't be ruined for today. Of course, the meta's changed a lot recently, and looking at Losira's production tab, we can see his lair is about to finish. Now, this is a really cool build. This is basically the fastest possible Mutalisk rush you can do. His Zergling speed was skipped. He's only just getting it now, and he's going to be dropping a Spire very soon. Of course, he's mistimed his gas just a little bit, so it's a little bit late, but he's still going to have very fast Mutalisks off this opening, and that's great against a mech player. It allows you to really shut down their harassment. The fast medevac we actually see here from Supernova is really fascinating.
Yeah, with the siege tanks and stuff. That's
you know
kinda
what?
neat.
You can actually reach across the gap and shoot down their destructible rocks. So he's going to lock the bases apart and then maybe elevate it down from there and isolate one of Losira's bases.
Oh man, shoot across the gap, you say? Well, if Apollo is here, he'd say he better mind that gap, because that is going to be something that can slow him down a little bit, but the Mutas will be able to clean it up relatively quickly.
They will be great, but because of that little bit of the delay on the Spire, it might be a bit difficult. Look at this. He's just going to drop down. Oh, there's actually this ledge I completely forgot about. That is a cool bit of harassment coming out here, and even building a bunker.
Man.
And the Spire is right there.
Oh, man, and look at this. In the meantime, Supernova grabbing 2 armories, definitely going to be going for mech here. His 3rd command's going to be made as well. This is really annoying, especially if he can kill that Spire off.
That's what it's all about right now. These queens, they need to try and shut this down before that Spire gets killed. If that Spire gets killed, Losira's whole build is in tatters.
Yeah.
And look at this beautiful pullback of the siege tank there. Supernova. Oh,
man.
No more high ground vision. As that Overlord goes down, Losira cannot see the medevac. He can't do anything with these queens there right now.
Look at this Spire. It's getting very, very low right now. he's trying to move a Spine Crawler up, trying to move his Queens forward as well. Doesn't have any transfusions on those Queens right there, so it looks like he should be losing the Spire, but not before getting some Mutalisks out.
You know, it's a nice bit of damage for Supernova, but he does lose the tank. He does have to get out of here now. With the Mutalisks out, Losira is going to be feeling okay with how this went.
Yeah.
And I think it might even stabilize. Might be like, you know, he's taken a bit of a hit, but considering he's going up against Mech, he might not even want to rebuild the Spire.
Yeah, that's a very good point, because if you do stay on Mutas, that can be very, very hard against a lot of Thors. But you know what? Pig, ask me if I would trade a Siege tank for a Spire.
Would you trade a Siege tank for a Spire, Artosis?
Pig, I in fact would trade a Siege tank for a Spire at almost any point of the game, especially in the early game. So I think right now Supernova's pretty happy with where he's at. He's got his 3 CCs. We don't even have the third base up and mining for Losira yet.
That is a very good point. And Zerg always wants to be a kind of a base up on the Terran. With this third command center actually running away from the base, it's gotten a little bit frightened of those minerals. It's a nice situation, I think, as a mech player, right? Like, your goal when you're opening up, it's like, let's try and force the Zerg back, put some pressure on them, and kind of mess their build up. And I feel like Zerg players, if they get to this stage of the game, they don't feel really comfortable where they are. It's very hard to judge. Like, how soon could that mech push come? Am I going to be ready for it? Can I get the Vipers out in time? Or do I just have to mass Roach? Like, how do I deal with it from this situation?
Yeah, and I think it's especially hard against Supernova, and this may not be in Losira's mind. You know, pro gamers don't watch as many VODs as commentators, for instance, so he might not be sitting here thinking, oh yeah, Supernova likes very aggressive mech builds where he attacks a lot quicker than other players. So that is something that definitely could hurt him. He might be powering up way too hard, and Supernova rolls out with a lot of Hellbats.
Yes, at this point, we actually only just see the Infestation and Hydrodan transition. Now, this is where it gets interesting, though. As these rocks go down, can Losira use that mobility advantage? Obviously, not really staying on the Ling Muta, but even having this small squad, it is going to make it a lot harder for Supernova to defend. We see him actually starting to build walls on the left-hand side. But look at this, the base is completely bare, and he's going to lose a lot of SCVs to these Zerglings.
Well, this is some very nice harassment coming in. A Siege Tank does come down. Some more Vikings as well. The Siege Tank looks like it will be picked off. Anytime you can pick off a Siege Tank for a few Zerglings, that is an insanely good deal.
Oh, yeah. You don't want those units in the late game. There's going to be Hellbats and tanks everywhere. If you can take out a trade now, that's awesome. And that Hive actually starting up now for Losira is going to be heading most likely for that Roach Hydra Viper. A very solid composition, if not to kill the Terran, at least to push their armies back, to abduct those Siege Tanks, to cover everything in green, gooey, blinding clouds.
Well, right now the Mutalisks being bruised up quite heavily. Looks like we only have 4 Mutalisks left on the map, so he doesn't really have to worry about anti-air, although we did have that Spire rebuilt. Oh wait, no, he actually canceled it, never mind, so he doesn't have that Spire. He did start it at one point, but doesn't have to worry, I guess, about any more switches into air for a little bit, and that is definitely something you don't want to have on your mind as a mech player.
It's one of those things which often is underestimated, the power of the Mutaswap, but just the fear of it. It forces so many more missile turrets, so many more Vikings just out by default. And of course, that's something you don't want to have to worry about. If you can just get a massive siege tanks, even with blinding clouds, you've just got such a huge spread. The Roach Hydra becomes very inefficient. Now, Losira has kind of pumped out some units. He's going to get some map control here, poke around this way and that, but notice he still doesn't really have a 4th base mining. So Losira doesn't have an endless bank behind this. These units, he has to be efficient with them.
Well, he is seeing what he can do in here. We don't see any burrow upgrades yet, or any burrow movement upgrades, which probably I imagine we'd see later if he's going to stay on this type of attack for a while. But he's really focusing now on that melee attack. I'm pretty interested in that, Pig. Tell me about it.
Those melee upgrades are going to be fantastic for the Ultra Tech down the line, but it does soften your army in this mid-game phase. We've talked about how Supernova likes to do those aggressive pushes, and if he is planning to do that, sure, he's got a 4th command center, but he will be doing it lining up with 2-2. We can see they're both getting past halfway right around now, so in the next couple of minutes, that will be a very strong push, and Losira, he might be able to squeeze some Ultralisks out in time, but realistically, if we look at his bank, it's not going to be a lot. It's going to be a small trickle at first. He's going to be very focused on just the Roach Hydra Viper, and lacking those attack upgrades could hurt him in the fights.
Yeah, it certainly could. So kind of interesting to see. We do have 2-2 finishing up for our mech player Supernova rather quickly here, and he's adding a couple Stargates now. So looks like he's going more into that end game type of mech composition. He's already at that 160 supply, which is oftentimes where he attacks from, but I don't think he's going for an attack right now.
doesn't look like it. And I believe we've seen this evolution in mech over the last 6 months or so. A lot of players feeling if they can get to those Ravens, and often in the Korean meta with players like Innovation going straight for battle cruisers, skipping the Ravens entirely. But if they can get those late game energy efficient starport units, then that can be a really cool way to play. And it looks like Supernova's heading down that path. He's just hunkering down right now. And Losira's Roach Hydra army, notice if he doesn't actually get a chance to trade these units soon, once Terran maxes out, that Roach Hydra army is not going to be very effective.
Yeah, I can get erased pretty quickly. Looks like he is starting to poke in here at the front. A nice yank on one of those tanks, but it looks like we're going to have the Vipers being taken out by these Flying Vikings. Meanwhile, he is pushing through, trying to get a trade here, but mostly just getting supply depots so far.
Well, you know, killing some Hellbats is nice, but losing a lot of heavy gas units in these Hydras, and he's going to be remaxing on Roaches, interestingly enough. Pulling back now, he actually cancels 35 Roaches, not caring too much about the lava efficiency there. Losira says, wait a second, it's Ultralisk time. But when you lose those Vipers, it's so hard because they get a 200 gas each. And look at this, we want 3-3 starting. We've got a double Spire. Suddenly, look at the supply, 130 supply with only 600 gas in the bank.
Yeah.
Losira's kind of realized, like, I actually can't fight right now. I need to just invest in the late game. But that means I'm just going to be building Queens now, trying to squeeze out a few Ultralisks. And he's actually, he's down in supply. He doesn't have the gas to remax.
Yeah, that was a really wasteful attack. I'm okay with him throwing away a little bit of supply. He needs to open up some supply. You can't be that heavy on Roach Hydra at this point, but he's thrown away so much. The fact that he's having such a hard time maxing out with a good composition, it's going to be hard to break through here.
This army just kind of poking slowly at first, starting to clear that creep. Supernova playing very cautiously, not wanting to get overextended, getting flanked by Ultralisks would be a very easy and silly way for him to lose this game. But he is going to eliminate a base there, and with some nice siege tank placement on the high ground, defending this counterattack very, very, very well.
Well, looks like he is in the front. This base, oh no, 3 Ultras popping out here, losing 3 Ultras like that. What a waste for Losira. Very unlucky where those popped out.
Oh, and that's so nasty. You know, having to wait for this engagement has really allowed Supernova to get position because Losira wasn't ready. He couldn't engage in the open, and notice there's all these tight corridors around, which Supernova, with this ranged mech army, he can really abuse against the melee-based Ultralisk Zergling army of Losira.
Well, 6 more Ultras on the way. Another lane counterattack going off. No bunkers or anything of the sort, not even a Widow Mine to speak of over here, so he has to come down with his units. Definitely a nice move there from Losira to slow him down a bit.
So many workers killed there. 25 going down just for some Zerglings. That's really great. Look at that, splitting the army up. These siege tanks got forgotten about. Blinding Clouds going down. The Ultralisks are going to clean them all up. And he might not even lose a single Ultralisk in the process. This is a really, really good trade for Losira.
It certainly was. That was kind of a big, unforgivable mistake to leave 5 siege tanks or 6 siege tanks out in the middle of the map. Coming back with the rest of his army now, but imagine how much stronger this would be with those extra tanks.
Oh, yeah, but he actually manages to take a fight there. Losira getting a bit overeager and just thinking, oh, there's a few more units trailing in, being surprised by the massive number of tanks. And this is the point where these Banshees get very annoying as well. There's complete air superiority for Losira, for Supernova, sorry. And Losira, what can he do about it? He doesn't seem to have anything that shoots up right now.
No, certainly not. A few Queens here and there, but that is about that. He's going to go ahead and attack it now. The nice buffering there by those fire Hellbats, and looks like these Ultras going to be able to take this all out, though.
Oh, Blinding Cloud's really nice there on the back. And the corridor, I guess, kind of working against Supernova there. The tanks at the back, though. The Reinforce, does overwhelm him. Very, very clean, quick. GG.
GG indeed. And Supernova showing that, in fact, mech oftentimes the most cost-efficient unit composition in the game.
Oh, I didn't know that, Dan. Thank you so much. I think that might actually help me level up my play.
Yeah,
so maybe I should swap to Terran and I could get up that ladder.
Well, what do you think? Where did Losira really go wrong there? Was it that Roach Hydra attack at the front?
I think I agree with you. I think the Roach Hydra attack, you know, we knew he didn't really have the upgrades, but that army could have bought a lot of time. It could have allowed him to get that gas bank up.
Well, definitely some mistakes in that game. Losira is not going to be looking to repeat. That Spire placement has to be just really annoying. You saw when he wanted to do his switch. He's like, oh, God, I'll throw up 2 Spires now, but not quite able to do so.
Not quite. We are just going to go to a very quick ad break while we get Game 2 set up and ready. Don't go anywhere, guys. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Intel Extreme Masters Shenzhen. We are here, about to go into Game 2 of Losira and Supernova. What a beautiful city it is.
It is. You and I have been walking around a lot here, and it's a lot of fun. I've never been to Shenzhen. I've been to China several times, but definitely one of these big cities that I haven't gotten to go to before. So very excited to be here with the Intel Extreme Masters Season 10 opener.
And that's what it's all about, you know, bringing gaming of the highest level all around the world so that fans everywhere can enjoy it. And we are seeing some high caliber games today. Of course, about to hop into Game 2, and it is going to be on Cactus Valley. Another ZVT, Supernova looking very, very focused there, very happy with how that game went. Losira maybe a little bit shaken up.
Yeah, you know, there were a few mistakes here and there, throwing away pieces of his army. But, you know, Supernova going for his mech-type style. Definitely had a nice start there, taking out the Spire as well. So,
I think that's going to shake you up a little bit as the Zerg player. I mean, you can say, oh, the Roach Hydra attack was a little bit wasteful, but when you lose your Spire like that, we were just saying how the game sense can get thrown off. It gets very scary, and you can maybe be anticipating, well, Supernova loves to push fast. We've got to be ready for it. But he surprises you. He sits back, and you get a bit overeager, and suddenly you're in a very bad position.
Well, this is it, guys. Game number 2. This is the winner's match. If Supernova wins here, he goes directly to the bracket, something I think a lot of people weren't expecting. All right, introducing our players down here in the bottom right of Cactus Valley, our Terran player from Root. It is Supernova.
Wanting that first place. He's looking very happy, very focused.
And his opponent in the top left from the MVP team in Korea, it's Losira.
I love that music with the intros. It's great, isn't it?
Epic. It is so epic.
And this is a really, really nice match. If you can come out first in your group, it's such a good feeling. You get a day off, of course, tomorrow either way, but especially you get a lot of time to prepare. You get to sit back and relax for the rest of the day and really study up on your potential opponents who you think you're going to be facing in that top 8.
Well, imagine if Supernova just 2-0s here quickly. It's like the Heart match was super quick, then a quick Losira match, and he's just like, yeah, I don't know. You know, I came in, played that 5-man open bracket for seeding, just crushed my group. I'm good, you know, tomorrow just lay near the pool, have some food, you know, just chill.
Yeah, he said, you know, I've been reading this thread on Team Liquid about the elephant in the room and how Kesper training conditions are the best, but apparently he's streaming on Twitch and having some fun on NA Ladder is actually the path to mastery. Supernova here, man. He's got it figured out.
Wow. Well, we'll see if that is the case. Definitely a very talented player, though. You know, from the first moment he set foot in StarCraft 2, this guy was just like extremely good. Crushed through Code A immediately. Always has been in Code S. In fact, isn't it called the Supernova Award when you get 9 seasons in a row? If I recall correctly.
I believe so, you know, just one tier underneath Nesty, the great master himself, of course.
But, I mean, this guy has always been a super-powered Terran. We just haven't seen him as much recently. Maybe some bad luck, maybe some bad days in his qualifiers not to get into tournaments, but he's showing here today against Losira, who's been doing quite well in Pro League and whatnot, that he's still got what it takes.
It is a very cool story to see when a player can get kind of feeling like they're fading away a little bit, but when they can start to come back and make a big showing at a tournament, it suddenly revitalizes their confidence, their career, everything. Teams are interested in picking them up. Of course, Supernova currently, you know, very happy on Root Gaming. And interestingly up here, just a very standard opening build order for Losira. He's gone for the fast gas after the hatchery, so he's going to have that very quick Zergling speed, no tricky super quick Mutalisks this game. And we're going to see how it plays out. Of course, Cactus Valley, you know, it's an odd map, especially in these cross spawns. I feel like it's actually quite good for Zerg. It takes a really long time to get across there.
I definitely would agree with you on that. Look at how far apart these two are right now. We do see Supernova, of course, he's opening up a little bit differently here. This is like a more standard build that we're seeing out of Reaper expand into Factory. I imagine we're going to see Hellions. Do you think we'll see Banshees?
I think it would be a very good choice here. There's actually quite a bit of a room kind of between the third and the main. It takes a while for Queens to get down there. So it would be a good way to open. Of course, Supernova's job, if he wants to go into that mech again, is to put some pressure on, slow down Losira's creep spread, kind of throw a spanner in the works. And with these two Reapers coming across so fast, they're actually already getting a lot of damage on this Queen. Losira is skimping on the Zerglings, and he's actually taking a bit of damage.
Oh, yeah, those drones actually getting quite low. Doesn't look like he'll lose any. You're not supposed to lose any to Reaper harassment. again! Oh, that was close.
So close to losing that Reaper, but does get out of there, and that's really annoying as the Zerg player when the Terran's just kind of pulling you around, forcing you to build those spore crawlers, wasting mining time. Does interrupt your build a little bit, and we do see just a fast third command center, but the Reaper Hellion follow-up pressure is always very strong, always very powerful, and Losira is going to need to be really on top of that. Another 2 drones actually going down just then.
Wow, that's actually a big deal. You're really not supposed to be losing drones to Reaper openings, especially when you're this far apart from your opponent. So a little bit of a misplay here from Losira for sure.
It's always a little bit hard when you start off with that slow opening, because look at it, no creep spread, really just starting now. Oh, if those Reapers could actually, jumping right into a Zergling trap.
Oh my god, these Reapers, they keep living with like 1 health. Pretty crazy, keep those alive, but it's very important because he's actually not going for Hellions right now. He's building siege tanks. Wow. And that's pretty, I like this. Okay, let me explain to you why I like this. Supernova, he likes his mech. That's what we see him do most of the time. By getting these early siege tanks with that third command, he might be gearing up for one of these quicker pushes with mech. I don't think you want to go into as long a game with mech on this map. It's just so long. Like, how are you ever... Losira should be able to get infinity economy if he tries to go for this super long mech. So I would actually really appreciate it here if Supernova went for one of those very fast timing pushes that he used to be so known for.
And there's quite a few very nice ledges you can abuse around the potential 3rd, 4th base location. So that can really pay off with those sort of 11, 12-minute pressures. Of course, with the 3rd command center, it's not going to be an absolutely this must-do damage sort of situation. And if we think about your understanding of Losira, if I was in Supernova's shoes, I'd always be on the lookout for any sort of all-in attack. I'd always be thinking, this is Losira, this is the guy who loves to crash banelings into your natural expansion. There's going to be roaches like popping out of proxy hatches and things, so why not play safe? Especially after that first game, he's probably feeling very confident, and he's going to play the slightly more conservative opening.
Absolutely. I really like what you're saying there, Pig. Definitely Losira is someone that is not afraid of making some Banes and Roaches early on to snap up a win. But looks like he will be going for a relatively quick Spire here. Going for that 3rd base as well.
The Banshee's going to be nice there. Is he going to be able to snipe that Overlord down? It looks like he will just barely kill that.
Well, I guess from the other side. But Speedling's coming in to go after these Marines. That is very annoying for Supernova.
Oh, that's such a nice little pickup. Just getting a nice little trade there. Of course, the double armory going out for Supernova. We know where he's heading with this game. And Losira, after being slowed down at the start, he's going for this kind of 2-base muta build, but it's not the fastest of mutas. It's not very threatening. It's more of a defensive play. So I really like Supernova's position, actually. Even though it's cross-map, it's going to be harder to push. If he plays that patient style again, I think it's a good position to be in.
Well, cool. We'll see how he ends up doing with that. How much damage can he truly get done here, though? You know, this is a little bit delayed for the timing of these 4 Hellions. As far as the Speedling count, there's only 10 out on the map, though, so we could put some heavy pressure on.
Yeah, ooh, even a Hellbat morph. Okay, going to go for the hatchery. That's going to put on some really big damage. And, you know, with a Banshee going into the main at the same time, even though Mutalisks technically counter these units, they might not have enough time. And so, we see Zerglings being forced in, a lot of them going down very quickly. The Hellbats here, they're really something that just wants to do damage. They want to throw the Zerg off. And look at this, drones running away, Queen's starting to go down. The Banshee in the main is picking off drone after drone at the same time. This is looking really, really nice for Supernova.
Yeah, it certainly is. Not quite microing that Banshee right now, but you know what? I think that this was pretty effective overall. Really cost him a lot of drones and a lot of mining time. Kept those mutas back as well, so he's going to have his turrets up, he's going to have a Thor out, he's going to have some Vikings out. I don't see this counter with mutas, this counter harassment, really doing much.
When are the mutas even going to get across the map? Hellions running in again, Banshee's coming in again. The Banshee from the main already got out of there. Discontinued damage, this is a nightmare for a Zerg. If you get your production stopped for a little bit, it's a pain, but this is dragging on and on and on, and there's just no mining happening on this third. So Losira, realizing this, he's actually dropped a Nidus network. He's building roaches. He's saying, I am too far behind right now. I got to do something crazy to get back in this. And because Supernova delayed his production so much, do you think this could work, Artosis?
You know, I think it comes down to, does he build like a depot on the side of his base? Does he check for this? Because it has potential to work here. Will it work? I don't know, man. It seems like already Losira's taken so much damage, but here we go. He's going to get that up, and he has Roach Speed about to finish. Roach is already popping out. Supernova knows where it is, sending his SCVs up, but that's going to be too late.
Oh, no. You know, the Vikings can't do anything here. He does have, I believe, a single Banshee, but there's Mutas here. And the Siege Tanks is on the high ground, going down to the Roaches already. Oh, Supernova trying to block with SCVs, but these Roaches, there's just too many of them.
Oh, it certainly looks that way, Pig. The Roach is coming in, taking out that Thor right now. The SCVs starting to fall in large numbers. They take out another Siege Tank here, opening up more room for the Roaches to kill off these SCVs. The Muta's coming in as well. But Supernova's still trying to get his defense going on.
Oh, the Mutaverse Viking battle is so important here. If he can take out those Mutas, and it looks like he will just be able to, the Banshees now will eventually be able to get rid of these Roaches. And considering how much Losira committed to this, I think this might actually be a decent hold for Supernova. The Nidus Worm going down, if he can just stabilize here, I think he's still got a good shot in this game.
Well, they both killed a lot of workers for each other, but definitely much in the favor of Supernova still here at 61 SCVs to 44 drones. This harassment just about done, picking off whatever he can at the moment, but it's really not that much.
Oh, this is going to be cleaned up, but the Roaches are just continuing to get damaged. There isn't really any of those ground beefy units fully cleaning it up. It is slowly straggling out, but behind this, Losira is getting some upgrades. He's got a few more Roaches out to keep pressuring, and I think he's going to be able to kind of transition now because he's got time to build that economy up. He's got time to catch up. Look at these Roaches just running in circles.
Oh, man, the mining time being lost here. Please send those SCVs to mine, Supernova. Please, please, please. Oh, but it looks like another Roach attack here at the third. Losira is really pulling this game together out of nowhere.
Oh, it's looking really, very nice right now. And of course, the infestation pit going down. There's going to be a hive starting after that. Vipers coming out. And look at Terran production. There's no add-ons left. They're all being killed. They're just rebuilding now. Only now being able to restart that mech production. We know what mech's like. Mech cannot rebuild quickly.
Yeah, if we were to see Supernova go ahead and win this game, I feel like it's going to have to be one of these really long games. Like, we have to be hitting 45, 50 minutes almost for him to get to a stabilized position out of this, force his way into a fourth base, really macro up, get his production, stay safe, and then push across the map. So Losira should be feeling pretty good right now, continuing to put on pressure with the Roaches at the third base.
Oh my gosh, is he going to get that command center?
No.
Oh my... Oh! He lifts just in the barest moment of time left. Oh, that would have been devastating. We can see Supernova maybe getting pulled this way and that a bit. It's such a bad feeling when you've got Roaches hitting you from all sides. You've got to feel a bit shaken. He just wants to stabilize right now. And I guess the supply count actually looks promising for him, but his game sense is going to be so off. He's trying to scan to get an idea.
Yeah.
Where is Zerg at? Did he have time to build drones throughout all that? Like, how far ahead is he?
Yeah.
Am I actually okay? He really doesn't have that sense of where the game's at right now.
And that is tough because right now I love what Losira is doing. He's taking his fourth in the place that you would expect, and he's taking a fifth over here in the top right. So that is like, how do you destroy all this with this kind of, you know, janky mech army you have right now? He's sitting at 110 supply. You can't move out with mech at 110 supply.
Oh, he's got to play for the long game. He doesn't have many options right now, and that does give freedom to Losira. An interesting change from last game, going for ranged upgrades rather than melee, maybe saying I'm going to be a little bit more focused on Roach Hydra. This map isn't as tight as Moonlight Madness. There's a lot more open areas where you can really charge in with a big mass of that mid-tier Roach Hydra army. And he's also getting the gases on the fourth base a lot quicker. So Losira is being a lot better prepared this game.
Certainly he is. His creep spread looking good as well. A couple of Hellions just kind of run around the map, a great way to get a bit of reconnaissance. But those Vipers are going to be popping out pretty soon. I'm a little bit afraid for him. Can he spread his tanks well enough? Can he actually hold on if Losira starts putting the pressure on towards that third base again?
There's actually a very impressive Viking count, so that may be the one saving grace of Supernova, but it does come down to, are they in position to kill the Vipers before the blinding clouds go down? If not, it can get very, very messy very quickly. And this is the sort of danger zone of the game we're entering, where maybe Losira, if he wants to pump out Roaches and go with 2-2, it could get very scary. But Supernova's supply is actually keeping up really impressively. It looks like he did weather that storm, maybe a little bit better than we gave him credit for.
Yeah, maybe so. Definitely showing I feel like a lot better game here for Losira than the previous one. Even though he took a lot of damage early on, I feel like he's really bringing it together. Nice aggressive attack, nice continued pressure, and then into perfect droning and expanding. So definitely looking fine for him.
Oh, the Hellions find the sneaky drone, Maynard. They're coming up there, going to say, no, you're not going to sneakily mine the gas from the corner of the map. And it's not too big a deal. Losira is mining on 4 bases. These gases were just a bonus, but it is nice for Supernova to keep things in check, keep his kind of knowledge of what's going on the map and where Losira is at.
Yeah, that definitely very important to at least have the knowledge so that he can really look in and be like, okay, now I know what type of economy to expect. I know how quickly he can refill his units here as well. So I think he looks at this and says, this is a really uphill battle, and he's reflecting that through making a couple more command centers, realizing, okay, there's no way this game is going to end soon with me winning it. So why don't we go ahead and play it slow, get those mules dropping all over.
Interestingly enough, looking at the production tab, Losira is making a Great Aspire. This is a really interesting move because a lot of players like to hit a sort of very sneaky timing attack with it, but Supernova with the nice Viking count up, maybe Losira is going to actually look to abduct those Vikings into the Hydralisk, whittle down the count, follow up with a very quick Broodlord timing. But hey, it's happening here. Let's see how he does this. Those Vikings up front, shooting those Vipers down.
Oh man, and 1 Blinding Cloud does go down, 2 go down here, 3 go down, and it looks like most of these tanks unable to shoot at the moment, so the Roach Hydra's starting to peel through everything. Some more siege tanks siege up on the high ground, but a couple siege tanks are not enough to clean all this up.
Oh, no Overseers though. The Banshees are starting to get a lot of damage done, but the mech army is getting destroyed here, and it's a lot harder to rebuild that rather than that Roach Hydra. Losira has 90 drones behind this, and look at that. This time, he doesn't commit the whole army.
Yeah.
He realizes when he's done his damage, pulls out, saves some of those expensive Hydras. A really nice attack.
Absolutely a wonderful trade for Losira. Anytime you can reset the siege tank count, like as long as mech has a backbone of siege tanks, it's hard to actually kill them off. But when you reset that, they have to remake it or your ground army can kill them. So I love that move there by Losira, and Supernova has to be looking at it and saying, you know, here's another few minutes on my counter if I'm going to win this.
Another remax on Roach Hydra, coming down, trying to take as many good trades as he can, but the Banshee is actually killing these Hydras before they can really do a lot. Supernova hanging on very valiantly right now, and really, when you remax on Roach Hydra, it's a very odd move. Not a lot of players do this, and the reason is those units do get worse later and later on, so he needs to try and find an opportunity to do damage straight away, and interestingly, those Broodlords we were talking about not happening, just starting upgrades, getting a second Spire. What we might see is kind of protracted Roach Hydra multi-prong into a Mutalisk swap.
Yeah, you know, I think the reason why he remaxed that, he said, you know what, I killed 9 or 10 siege tanks there. Maybe I can just kill him straight up, but as you said, you know, Supernova, he has those Banshees out, able to help clean up very, very quickly. Still has quite a few siege tanks. I don't see any Vipers. There they are, coming in quite late, in fact, and 1 Blinding Cloud does go off, getting a couple siege tanks, so that's pretty good, but this is still going to be cleaned up with relative ease.
Oh, look at this, the mass Overseer coming in, but they die. Only 1 Banshee goes down, and suddenly all the Hydras are gone. He's lost 5 Overseers, which is actually a lot of money going down. This really, really cool. I'm just not going to let you have detection in the fight. It's just working so well. Oh, and nice little Roach counterattack here, but Supernova is hanging on very well, really not leaving the holes that Losira needs.
Yeah, some true mech mastery coming up here despite all the damage he took in those first few attacks from Losira. And even now starting to push up, saying, you know what, I'm going to take out this 5th base right now. And if he can get that and get out with those units, that puts him in a very nice spot.
It really does, and the creep spread isn't actually extending to this portion of the map, so he might even be able to just easily get his whole army out of there. A small Roach Hydra force coming in, the tank's not even bothering to siege, maybe a bit of a mistake there.
Really, I feel like he probably should have been on the high ground, just, you know, cross your T's, dot your I's in case this happens, but it looks like these will come up here. The Banshee's going to fly down to help deal with it. I don't see any anti-air here, so that's going to be a lot of dead Roaches.
Oh, and he could even still go up and kill the hatchery potentially. Supernova's just realizing, hey, let's just keep rallying across the map, maybe being a little bit too cavalier with these siege tanks. These siege tanks are expensive, and Losira can afford to throw these Roaches away. Supernova can't afford to lose all these tanks.
No, certainly cannot. Continue to run away here, trying to save this last siege tank. The Roach is chasing him down, though. In the meantime, I believe the Banshees are coming back as well to clear that out. And it looks like a lot of Hydras being made.
Such a bizarre choice. He's just going mass Hydralisk to try and counter this Banshee Viking airplay. But without the detection, we've seen there's a big problem there. He needs to get those Infestors out for that detection. He needs the fungal growth. It's the only way to counteract this mass Viking Banshee play. So a little bit of an odd choice from Losira. Needs to find the solution to this sooner rather than later.
Well, it looks like right now we do have these Banshees and Vikings going back up towards Losira's 5th base, up in the top right. They are going to be able to take that out, but it looks like oh my god, the Vikings could be caught by these Hydras, but luckily for them, those Hellions taking one for the team.
Oh yeah, those Vikings going down would be disastrous right now. These Banshees actually look like they are going to get trapped. The Hydra's coming in, going to get the punish on. Oh, some nice creep spread, speeding up those Hydras. 2 Banshees do go down.
Well, looks like he will get out with a couple of them, which is nice. He did kill the base, which is good. In the meantime, he is taking another base as well. I mean, where do you put this game at right now?
It's so hard to judge who's ahead, who's behind.
Yeah.
Supernova's expanding so fast. He can afford to actually take these cost-inefficient trades. He's got so many factories, so many starports constantly pumping out units. So this is just, it's a really, really unique style of mech. As soon as he feels he's given room to breathe, Supernova stops caring so much about being cost-efficient, very quickly starts limiting the Zerg. And I think that's a really hard skill to have, to know when you can swap between those two attitudes of mech. And it's just a very, very nice way of doing it.
Certainly is. One Banshee hiding there, just out of range. In the meantime, a lot of Hellions coming in. The drones do get out in time. And in fact, he goes for a chase instead of targeting down that already hurt hatchery, so won't really get too much damage done here.
This is such a bad time for you to get pulled around as Zerg. You want to be going across. You want to be trading with this mid-tier army. And we still see no melee upgrades. So it looks like an eventual muta transition is the plan, but there's just no money in the bank for it yet. So Losira needs to keep making this Roach Hydra composition work right now.
Well, in the meantime, we do have 2 more starports that just finish up. We see a whole lot of flying units on the way. Looks like we do have an attack from Losira down into this planetary, getting actually some wonderful blinding clouds off. Almost no siege tanks are even firing right now.
That's a beautiful bunch of blinding clouds there. Those siege tanks, Supernova not reacting, not trying to pull them out of the blinding clouds, and he is going to lose a lot of that ground army as well as that 5th mining base.
Well, that is pretty painful there for Supernova, but you know, this Losira army is not going to stay cost efficient for very long as they run into this next wave of siege tanks. A couple Banshees here as well to help out, and I think he's going to have to pull back from up here.
Oh, losing so many of these expensive Hydras and Overseers. You know, we think of these as mid-tier units, but they cost a lot of money. And Losira's been throwing quite a few of them away there. The first attack, fantastic. The second one, not quite as good. Interestingly, Supernova, he's taking a leaf out of Losira's book. Look at the bottom left of that map. What's that we see?
I love that, man. Hidden command center. This is a gigantic map. A lot of times you're so busy with these attacks, these counterattacks, the defenses setting for your own economy, spreading your creep. You're not going to scout down there maybe for a little bit. And if he can just drop mules there for a while, oh my god, it pays itself so quickly, Pig.
Oh yeah, in the end game, if it's your Zerg, you find that corner base, there's no minerals left. Half the gas is mine. That really, really is frustrating. And this Hellion aggression is great. Roach Hydra, not a very mobile composition. Supernova's realizing I can just keep sending little bits of harassment around, and this is going to buy me unlimited time. And interestingly, only built a couple Ravens and swapped back to almost mass Banshee here, saying, you know what? I feel I can just keep shooting your Overseers down, and I will just kill your army with mass air.
Well, you know, there's a lot of Hydras here, so if he can keep an Overseer up, which is going to be pretty tough, that'd be nice. But I got to go back to what you were saying earlier, Pig. Where are the Infestors?
Just 2 to 3 of them would make such a big difference there. Oh, abducting some air units. That's a nice little pickup. Very cost efficient there from Losira. I like that. Not committing to the huge YOLO attack kind of thing. I'm just going to grab a few units, pull them, get back. Suck more of that energy, you know, off those extra evolution chambers and hatcheries, and continue playing it out a little bit slower, a little bit more cost efficient.
Well, in the meantime, we do have some of those Hellions turning to Hellbats running around the map, seeing what they can get done. We do have this Zerg army coming down. That creep spread getting pretty fearsome, by the way, Pig. Most of the, I feel like I'm watching a game of Splatoon almost, and Losira is winning by far.
Oh, the Banshee's turning around. The mech army looks like it's trapped, but really it's the Hydras walking to the trap until those Overseers come in.
Oh, that was a lot of Banshees going down right there. Absolutely brutal on the air army of Supernova, but he maintains his siege tank count.
It's time, Dan. The Mutaswap is happening. He feels, I've done it. I've killed enough of your air units. You're going to be rebuilding those Banshees, rebuilding those Ravens, rebuilding those siege tanks. Guess what? I'm swapping into mass Mutalisk. And we were saying this map's so huge. Look at this. Supernova can't get a 5th base down other than this hidden one. He's not mining gas there. He's getting starved out. And now with Mutalisks, even if they can't fight the army front on, they're just going to deny bases.
You have to chase those mutas for days. You're never going to kill all those. How are you going to kill all those? You're never going to kill all those.
It's not going to happen, man. I mean, you got siege tanks, you got SCVs, you got Hellbats. If you look at the units tab, we've got 7 Vikings and 2 Ravens. That's not enough anti-air.
He has 3-2 upgrades on these mutas, just to put that in perspective. Those are some scary mutas flying in right now. GG from Supernova, realizing absolutely no, he does not have anything to counter a ball of 30 mutas at that point in the game.
Powerful game. I think that was, so far, of course, the best game of the day.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Not like it had to beat too many to get there, but it was great, you know.
You really think it was better than the 6 pool from Losira?
Well, you know,
That was a pretty good game,
It's a close match. There was a little bit more decision-making in this one, so it beat it out just barely.
Well, some valiant efforts there from both players. I was actually really impressed by both sides that game, I have to say. I thought that Supernova, you know, he defended really well and then came back through harassment quite well. Like some really hard situations in which he held on and made it into a game. But at the end of the day, Losira with that Mutalisk tech switch does nail that one home and still hoping to advance in first place in this group. Do we know what the third map is yet?
I'm not quite sure. Of course, we're almost always seeing Moonlight Madness banned. We actually saw that get played out in game 1 of this series. So I'm wondering, we might see Terraform is very, very common in the current picks, as is Coda. However, Losira, knowing Supernova's tendency for mech, may have vetoed out Coda, knowing it's a very strong mech map.
Definitely could see that. Well, we'll see in just a moment, guys, as we get into game number 3. By the way, make sure you get out there and talk about the Intel Extreme Masters on all your various social medias and whatnot. This is a fantastic tournament down here. We have quite a stacked lineup, and it's the beginning of Season 10. That is 10 years of the Intel Extreme Masters. Very few tournaments have lasted that long.
It's a testament to just how good this tournament has been, giving gamers from all over the world an opportunity. You know, the first event I ever went to when I was a young eager newbie was an Intel Extreme Masters in 2011 back in China, actually.
Yeah.
And that was kind of what lit my flame for esports, you know. 4 years later, I'm pretty much, my life is StarCraft. I love coming to these events. It's always the highlight of my year.
Indeed. And it's great to have it going once again. So it looks like our next map here is going to be Terraform. What do you think about this map in Terran vs. Zerg?
Terraform's a very interesting map. I feel like this is a map where these guys might show some things I haven't really had the chance to see yet. I have had a chance to ladder quite a lot of games on these new maps, but generally what we notice in Terraform is pool first is very common because the Reaper gets to your base very quickly. We saw Losira do that in the first game, play very safe against the Reapers. Past that point, it can be relatively standard. It's a very typical layout in some regards, but what's very interesting is the sort of spiraling terrain with these narrow corridors and these hedges and these destructible rocks in the center of the map. You get some really interesting weird army movements, and things like threatening base trade to buy time is very awkward to deal with, because even if you've got the superior army, their army can always rotate the opposite direction of yours, and it's very hard to both push their army back and get across the map at the same time.
Yeah, kind of. Now that you mention it like that, kind of reminds me of like Neoplanet S or something like that, where it's like, well, the rotation of this map is really bizarre. So we'll see what they want to do about that. Do you think we'll see mech here again from Supernova?
I think this map works for mech actually quite well. I think with the early aggression, you can maybe get a bit of tempo. And thinking about Supernova's mindset, you've got to be confident from that game too, of course. He was really bullying him around in the early game. So I think if he goes into this and just plays the similar sort of style, he'll be feeling very confident.
Excellent. Well, looks like we are just about ready to get this game started, guys. It's tied up 1-1 in the winner match of Group A. Whoever wins this map will move on to that bracket phase of the tournament. Let's go ahead and start the game. Down here in the bottom right of Terraform, our Terran player from Root, it is Supernova. And his opponent in the top left, showing a fantastic comeback in our previous game, it is Losira. Of course, from MVP. Been doing quite well for them in Pro League.
His resurgence, I think, as a player really has timed out, actually, with joining MVP. Yeah. He was obviously a great player for a long time. His peak was actually in 2011, doing very well in many tournaments, making it to the finals of a GSL Code S.
That's right.
hasn't been able to fully recapture that, but he's had a lot of years of solid, strong Code S performances, and it really wasn't until last year where he started to fade off for a while. But this year has been a slow building up.
Yeah.
He's been getting back up there bit by bit and actually doing amazingly well against the best players in Pro League.
Absolutely. I felt like he was having some really great games pretty much this entire Pro League season. So I hope to continue to have him come back because he does have his own style from the other Zergs. You know, as far as Zergs go, I would call him pretty stylistic. Would you agree?
I think he's defined as being aggressive, right? Like, but in that unique style where I almost feel like there's two types of players. You have players who are very analytical and they know exactly how to react in each situation optimally. And then you have someone like Losira, who is very much a creature of his instincts. And you could see it in the interview before, you know, I felt like his 6-pool would work, so he just went for it. You know, obviously he doesn't want to give away his secrets, but I think you can see it in his play. You see a lot of these instinctive movements where a lot of players would feel battered back and not know what to do. He'll know exactly what all-in or what aggression to reach for. We saw that with the Nidus network last game. In the midst of dealing with Banshees and Hellions, he's already dropped a Nidus worm. It's halfway done before we even realize it's happening, and it's that ability to swap into aggression so fast, which makes him a very scary opponent.
Well, taking a look at this game, doesn't look like he wants to open too aggressive here. Looks like he is just going into a hatchery and pool. Meanwhile, we do have that command center first coming out of Supernova.
Nice economic opening for Supernova, and it is interesting to see Losira taking that pool after hatchery, but he's still going for the later gas, still going to get that spawning pool up very fast to get out a few safety Zerglings, and of course starting those queens. Supernova, he always seems to go for this SCV scout. Doesn't really seem to take too many risks against a player like Losira.
Well, I think it's pretty important. If you look at Supernova and where his strengths lie, it's definitely in building up over time with his mech units. So I think it's pretty smart for him to open up like this early game because he has, in the past, in my opinion, been one of the most predictable Terran players out there. Like, I seem to recall way back, it was like, what was it, a Code A match where it's like he just always went CC first on a certain map against Protoss. The Protoss just like sent in early Zealot and won the game right there. And I was like, yeah, I mean, I guess you can't just always do the same open.
Yeah, it's the trap players fall into, you know, you want that consistency. You want to get the best at your thing, at your style, at your builds. And sometimes we do get a little bit carried away as players. We get a bit excited and just kind of, I'm so good at this, what could possibly go wrong? StarCraft is such a strategic game, especially when it comes to this level at the top where if you know how your opponent plays, there is always a way to take advantage of it. There is always a corner you can cut. There is always a way you can throw them off balance. If you know exactly how the game's going to pan out, it makes your job a little bit easy. And interestingly enough, Losira's dropping a Roach Warren.
I like it. I like that he's mixing this in right now. We'll see what it will do against Supernova. Now, of course, he didn't go for like a super fast third command center. He's going right into that starport, and he's been making early siege tanks. But it doesn't look like that's going to be the case this time. He is going straight into Hellion Banshee, it looks like.
And this is a very nice pressure, of course. This is the classic, I believe Dongray Gu was the player who popularized it in a lot of players' minds way back when. This is a really antique build. You just get these about 8 to 10 roaches very, very quickly and drone up hard behind it. And against Command Center first, with that delayed barracks production, that delayed factory production, not only do they not have a lot of units out, but they often don't scout it until you're already knocking on their door.
Yeah, and that definitely could be the case here. We are going to have some Hellions popping out relatively soon, and they could run into the roaches around the map, but of course, we don't know exactly how he's going to send them either.
The scouting Hellion coming out, but not going right across the map. The roaches grouping up, and they are heading across now. Nice twist on this build from Losira. Going straight up to 4 queens with it. He's saying, you know what, a lot of players, they really just try to focus on drones with this. Ooh, very, very nice pickup. But he's actually going to get a lot of creep spread behind this. Use the map control to actually get a really good mid-game in terms of creep.
And definitely Losira, one of these guys that we've seen really favor having a lot of queens in the early game in the past when he was playing his macro. So we'll see if it gets that, though, because this is a lot of roaches incoming. Could deal a significant amount of damage, especially considering he already picked up a Hellion.
Yeah, the Banshee's about to pop. That will eventually wear this down. That's a lot of roaches. They're already doing some damage. Now he's got to focus down those SCVs. Does make it through the bunker. It's all about how many SCVs he can kill before he gets pushed out of this space. Notice Supernova realizes this, pulls the SCVs back. He just wants to lock the door and let this Banshee deal with this.
That's right. We do have these Hellions coming up. Going to deal some splash damage to these roaches clumped up the map. In the meantime, the Banshee taking down as many as possible. He does go ahead, pick off that reactor. Going to get a few SCVs here as well.
Oh, beautiful depot block. Just buying that little bit of extra time. Cute little move there. The roach numbers are starting to get whittled down. So far, only 9 SCVs have gone down. Losira wants to kill a couple more before this is over.
Well, he gets one there, building that third command center. Going to go ahead, pick up this Hellion if he possibly can. It's getting away from him, though, and it looks like this is just about the end of the damage. Where would you put this on the scale of success here for Losira?
Oh, looking at the direct worker damage, it's not great, but we killed some buildings, we killed some depots. Losira, of course, did manage to get some nice damage done in terms of the natural wasn't mining for that entire time. So it does do a decent amount of damage. I wouldn't spell Losira as being ahead, though. It looks relatively even. It's very hard to call right now.
All right, well, Losira, he is taking his third base. He did get a fair amount of drones here as well and is pushing that creep spread. So, a Nidus network.
Oh, a great
Wasn't
way.
expecting that.
He doesn't want to go into that late mech game again. He had such a frustrating time closing it out last game. And this map, not as good as Cactus for those counterattacks, that multi-prong. So he's really looking to commit to this. Just the single evolution chamber going. And, can these Banshees possibly scout this Nidus network?
I don't know if they will. He put some really well-placed spore crawlers here, and he has a decent amount of queens. I think that this is really going to catch Supernova off guard. I think he's going to look at this and say, oh, okay, you're going to go into, just a bunch of roaches, probably some hydras, and we're going to play that same type of game again. But that is not the case, and he has nothing scouting the side of his base.
Oh, the same mistake from the previous game. Oh, this is going to be so much more devastating. After taking that roach damage earlier, the pressure's been off Losira. He's feeling comfortable here. And look at this. Oh, even a Banshee going down. That is really, really powerful. The SCV's being pulled too late here. Oh, Supernova knows he's in trouble.
Yeah, this is absolutely brutal. Looks like he will get this Nidus because he does have this cloak Banshee there, but that is a lot of roaches and speed and +1 attack in his base.
Oh, this is so painful. What do? Where do you set up your defense? You've got a siege tank, but it's one siege tank against about 20 roaches. The roaches going in, they're already killing all of the add-ons. Another Nidus network is about to pop, and there are so many queens that are going to be coming out of there.
Well, that is going to be really painful as well. He does have these 3 Banshees flanking absolutely everything. A Hellbat coming back to try to tank something as well. All the add-ons gone from his building. And GG, Losira going to go ahead and finish this group in first place.
You called it from the start there, Dan. You said he's a bit of a predictable player. Losira recognizing weakness there in the mech play, also recognizing there was a hole in the vision, and just very decisively crushing that game out.
But I do have to say, I was pretty impressed overall with Supernova. And I'm wondering, Rotterdam was saying he was thinking it was very Losira favored. But Rotterdam, what do you think now?
Do you think now? We'll just go right off of that.
I don't think it was very Losira favored. It was obviously a pretty close series. I think the boys called it very well, but it was an interesting series. And I think other than a little bit of indecisiveness in the first series by Losira, I think he played very solid. But, of course, it's a little cheeky as well, He's been kind of having a cheeky grin on his face throughout the entire series, throughout the entire day, and his playstyle was just as cheeky as his grin.
Oh, well, there you go. And we do have him here. Hopefully we can get a little bit of that cheeky grin there. So, of course, congratulations. Moving on forward from Group A, done with it. So I'm really curious. You're done for a day and a half. What do you do? We're not Dave. We never have that luxury, right? We have to work every day.
What is he going to do? Chober.
I got it. Don't worry, Sean.
He thinks we're so weird right now.
로시라 선수 이제 지금 그러면 2대0 그다음에 2대1 그렇게 해가지고 이제 A조에서 바로 우승자로 8강 올라가셨고 내일까지 또 쉬는 날이 있어요. 그럼 하루 반 거의 하루 쉬고 또 반나절 오늘도 쉴 수 있는데 오늘 보통 만화를 좋아하신다든지 해서 좀 둘러본다든지 코스프레해서 이쁜 분을 보셨다든지 그런 계획이 있나요?
근데 제가 만화는 별로 안 좋아하거든요. 그래가지고 좀 그런 거는 몰랐는데 막상 와보니까 여기만의 또 세계가 따로 있는 것 같아요. 그래가지고 좀 신세계였어요.
No. It says, well, you know, I don't really enjoy comics in my spare time, so I don't really know too much about that. But I came here, and it's definitely they're definitely got their own world. It's pretty new to me. It's pretty cool. So yeah, I was a little bit amused. I was a little bit interested when I first walked in. Maybe I'll get to check it out a little bit more.
That's what he's gonna do.
Well, I asked him what he thought about the cosplayers, and we didn't really get too much.
Okay.
But we saw some neat. I mean, we've had our photographers going around finding some really neat cosplay. I mean, I think that's a big thing about conventions. But let's ask a little bit about the game. I mean, he came here, he just won 2-0, 2-1. I mean, he's going for it. He's got his spot in the quarterfinals, Roddy.
Yeah, awesome, obviously, for him to win his group. I got a small question about his mindset throughout the series, because I felt in game number 1, he was playing good, but he was a little indecisive, like I mentioned before.
Yeah.
One moment he made a lot of roaches, he cancelled all of them, went into ultras and 2 spires while he didn't have that much money. Just kind of ask about his mindset. And then game number 2 and 3, you know, it's not tournament live on the line, but he's down on 1 and he makes Nidus networks, which is obviously a little bit risky. So I kind of just want to hear how he felt about, you know, the first game where the decisions were made, and then about his
Got
mindset.
it. So I got it all. 이번 시리즈에서 그러면 지금 그 승자전 하는데 첫 번째 경기에서는 조금 어떻게 보면 이렇게 좀 확신을 가지지 못하고 좀 매번 뭔가 새로운 걸 발견하면 여기서 어떻게 대처를 해야 되지 좀 그런 모습을 보여주셨는데 그 다음에 두 번째 경기에서부터는 또 저희 첫 번째 매치처럼 좀 뭐 나이더스 같은 걸 좀 활용해가지고 내가 좀 그냥 자신 있게 플레이할 수 있겠다 자신감을 다시 되찾은 것 같았어요. 이번 시리즈를 할 때 뭐 처음에 오히려 진짜로 좀 확신이 없으셨나요? 아니면 그냥 좀 중간에 그 상대적으로 좀 당황을 하셨던 부분이 있나요?
1경기 때 저는 제가 이기는 사이즈라고 생각했는데 맵이 생각보다 메카닉한테 좋더라고요. 그래가지고 좀 제가 많이 당황한 건 있었는데 그렇다고 그대로 질 수는 없어가지고 계속 잠시 게임하기 전에 계속 그거 마인드 컨트롤하면서 빌드를 구상했었는데 그게 잘 맞아 떨어졌던 것 같아요.
알겠습니다. He says, well, yeah, game 1, I actually thought I was ahead. I thought I was going to win, but then as we all found out, that map's pretty good for mech, it turns out. So, yeah, I ended up losing, but after that one, throughout the series, I mean, you can't just go down just because you lost one map, just because they got lucky with that one. So I was thinking about what builds could work, you know, where can I just play my own thing? Where can I play my own style? I went with the Nidus Stress and whatnot, and hey, worked out. So again, I mean, it's kind of like the 6-ball, you know, it's just going with what feels right for you.
Okay, I got a question before we ask some. I got a couple of funny ones, but I'll go with a normal one first.
All right.
Kind of normal one. I guess it's kind of in the middle.
right.
How many cheesy builds does he have to defeat Parting, Rain, Classic, and Hero?
이번 대회에 뭐 원희석 선수 파팅도 있고 클래식, 히어로, 뭐 레인 이런 선수들 다 있는데 그 선수들 만약 다 상대해야 된다면 이번 대회를 위해서 치즈를 얼만큼 많이 준비하셨나요?
근데 그건 진짜 꿈도 꾸기 싫을 것 같아요.
I don't even want to ever dream about that scenario where I have to play all 4 of those. So hopefully I don't have enough prepared because I don't want to be in that scenario. Well, that's his answer.
Okay. Okay. So Losira, Kangho, Losira. Why did he go back to Losira? Was he pressured by friends?
No.
Did he cave into the community?
That's a good one. 이번에는 아이디 관련해서 질문을 하고 싶은데 처음에 로시라로 했다가 그다음에 다시 캉호 아이디를 쓰셨다가 최근에 다시 또 로시라로 바꾸셨는데 뭐 그 특별한 이유가 있으셨나요? 뭐 주위에서 그런 뭐 제한이 있었다든지.
그런 건 아니었고요. 그냥 처음에 제 이름으로 바꾸고 나서 나름대로의 그 방송에서 줬다는 그런 것도 있고 이제 제가 좀 텀이 있었어요. 바꾸기 전 기간 동안 그래가지고 그때 동안 이제 다시 초심으로 돌아가서 열심히 연습하자는 마인드로 이제 아이디를 바꾸게 된 것 같아요.
알겠습니다. He says, well, you know, I switched to my name as my ID, and I thought, you know, I had some showing there. It will, you know, I had some records that will stay there with my name, so I got to kind of set that in stone. And then I decided before I switched back to Losira, I really wanted to go back to my original beginnings, back to my roots, you know, start from the bottom up. So I said, let's go back to my original ID, Losira. Let's start from the start again, see how far I can go. And here he is, going into the quarterfinals.
Would he credit his recent turnaround of success in his career to changing his ID back?
Alright. 그러면 최근에 다시 이제 좀 좋은 성적을 거두시는 게 로스티러로 바꾸었기 때문에 그런 마인드가 더 생길 수 있었다고 생각하시나요?
어떻게 보면 그것도 그렇게 볼 수 있는 게 제가 그 아이디로 바꾸고 나서 다시 이제 초심으로 열심히 하기 시작했거든요. 네, 그래가지고 그 열심히 하게 된 원동력이 그렇게 됐다고 생각하기 때문에 어느 정도 연관이 있는 것 같아요.
그러니까 선수로서도 그러면 그게 게임을 할 때 좀 영향이 진짜 있나 봐요. 게임을 할 때 내가 지금 로시라로 게임을 한다든지 아니면 캉오로 게임을 한다든지.
네, 마음가짐 자체가 틀려지는 것 같아요.
And he said, yeah, I think we could credit it a little bit to that. As a gamer, when you sit in that booth, it does affect you when you think of, am I playing as Losira? Am I playing as Kangho? When I look at my ID Losira, I look back and I say, well, that's
GSL final,
that's a name
MLG
with a lot of
final.
history. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's got a lot of reputation behind it. So he's going to go back to the start, starting from the bottom and then climbing back up here. Now he's in the quarterfinals. Pretty good place to be.